আজ থেকে বহু বছর আগেকার কথা। কলকাতার ভবানীপুরে এক মধ্যবিত্ত পরিবারে জন্মগ্রহণ করেন এক শিশু। ধীরে ধীরে বড় হয়ে ওঠেন। খেলাধুলায় যেরকম পারদর্শী ছিলেন, তেমনই মেধাবী ছিলেন পড়াশোনায়। স্বপ্ন ছিল বড় হওয়ার, 10 জনের মধ্যে একজন হওয়ার। কালক্রমে নিজের মেধাকে সম্বল করে পৃথিবীর সেরা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় থেকে সংগ্রহ করেন ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং ডিগ্রি। তারপর আর পিছনে তাকাতে হয়নি, শুধুই এগিয়ে যাওয়া আর এগিয়ে যাওয়া, সাফল্যের শিখরে ওঠা। তিনিই হলেন শ্রীযুক্ত জয়েশ পারেখ। তাঁর হাত ধরে ভারতবর্ষে প্রবেশ করে সোনি এন্টারটেনমেন্ট চ্যানেল এবং IBM। ধীরে ধীরে হয়ে ওঠেন ভারতবর্ষের অন্যতম সফল ব্যবসায়ী। কিন্তু ব্যবসায়িক সাফল্য ম্লান করতে পারেনি তার মেধাকে। আত্মপ্রকাশ করেন একজন ভিন্নধর্মী লেখক হিসাবে। তার লেখা বিভিন্ন বই সমাদৃত হয়েছে পৃথিবীর বিভিন্ন প্রান্তে। আজ আমরা উপস্থিত হয়েছি শ্রীযুক্ত পারেখের লেখা অতি সম্প্রতি বই হোয়াট শ্যাল উই ডু অল দিস মানি প্রকাশ অনুষ্ঠানে।
Jayesh, Ritu, all the friends who are here in support of Jayesh's noble, I would put it this way, his foray into literature. So in January I was in Singapore and he said, I have written a book, and I said, oh my God. From a businessman to writing a book, I think it's not going to be something very exciting. So I was trying to get out of it, and he was pushing that I've written a book, and the book is a little different. It's an interview about the businessman. I said, okay, fine, I'll read it. So he gave me the book, and then I read it. There were some very interesting people over there. There were some friends like Suketu, there were friends like Raman, Meena. Then there were some people who are in the book about whom I am in awe of. Ratan Tata, Chanderiyas, Manubhai Chanderia, then Nilankani. And then there were some people who I had never heard of and who were in the book. And then I actually went through a lot of the articles, and one thing stood out, that at the end of the day, all of them are giving back to society. All of them at the end of the day are writing about what they want to leave back. Everyone have their own, everyone had their own ambition, everyone had their own assessment of what they wanted to do. But what Jayesh captured was actually the last mile of what they really wanted to give back. The only irony that or the only assessment that I made was a little, an eye-opener for all of us, and that is that most of the people who are figured out here are Indians who have done extremely well overseas, and they are the first ones to come and think of giving back to society. Whereas if you see the list of 50, a very small percentages are the locals who are giving back to society. And therefore, I feel this book will help in opening the eyes of all the local people and help or start making them think that they also have to do things on the same line of supporting the society. Jayesh, you know, Jayesh and me, we are in some way related. I don't know how, but we are related, that much I know. But we used to know each other even in our school days. We used to go and play table tennis from school, and then he migrated off and I used to occasionally see him. More often in the last few years when we kept on meeting, and then we have been in touch with each other. But he has done well for himself. A Calcutta boy, he wrote about himself to say that I came from a humble background. Yes, but a very educated background. I mean, his parents were like, in our Gujarati society, they were like the literate ones. They were the ones who were leading the society in art and culture. So he may have come from a humble beginning or a humble background, but a literate background, a background which knew how to handle art and culture. And what he has done and how he has supported and how he has written this book, it's going to greatly, greatly help. And I would request all of you to please go through it. It'll also open your eyes and give you a different perspective about life and what one should do. Thank you, Jayesh. Thank you for writing the book.
Thank you so much, Utsav, for that warm comments. I forgot to also mention one person. A lot of my friends are wondering who this Dilip Singh Mehta is and how am I related to him. So just so you know, Dilip Singh and I went to St. Lawrence High School together. Dilip, please. Yeah. Okay, and now over to the reason why these people on the left are here. The right guys, please wait and I'll come back again.
Actually, today I'm not really in a right frame of mind to talk because as you all know that we've lost our very dear Tapushta, and he's a most eminent personality of this industry, and more so he was like a big brother, and his loss is irreparable since he immensely contributed to this industry and to all of us personally. So obviously we started this day with a very sad note, but few things are inevitable. We cannot stop, we cannot foresee. But today evening, it's also a very special day for us because our very dear friend, big brother, long association with Jayesh, his book launch is always will be very special for me. So I couldn't stop but coming today. See, I have perhaps not gone through the book very thoroughly, but since due to lack of time, because I was shooting day in and day out, but I grasped a few inserts from the book, which is quite insightful, and I think the man who has such high spirits, who is full of life, who has actually infused life to a lot of people in many ways. I can't explain all the things what he has done, but he is a man of a heart with gold, and I think his golden heart actually has given him this opportunity to, go beyond his horizon, go beyond his professional commitments, go beyond his, so-called status, and know about people, know about things which he didn't need to, but he did. Starting from, spiritual getaways, he had been to places, he has done everything which he wanted to do in one life. I mean, almost everything, flying from the height to, falling from a huge height to, what do you call that, I don't know, huh? Bungee jumping, from bungee jumping to anything, I mean, you can name, he has done. He has been a support to a lot of people to start their work when they needed him. Because I can mention this very proudly that my husband, when he was dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, Jayesh Parekh was the one who came up and marched forward to do the first seed funding in his company. So I think that's one part of Jayesh I can never forget. And my husband, who was definitely in a different profession, he was all in, awe of this man and said that, he's the man who stood up for me and he kept his commitment. So that's how I know him. And then it's a long way we have come through. It's been years, and I don't know how many years now. So this, he's very special to me. And now that he has written this book, says it all about all his capabilities, all his expertise. And as Utsav rightly said, that giving back to the society, giving back to, giving back something, what we have, to the larger mass is something very noble. So I think Jayesh is doing something very noble, and I believe that he will continue to do this. And I just came to know about this iJyoti Hospital, where he's actually sending his proceeds from the book, which is absolutely commendable, Jayesh. And I hope that you do more of this, more and more, and make us more proud. And thank you everyone for coming today, because he had, sort of given me a huge responsibility to sort of see things, overview things today. So I hope I could live up to his expectations, and I actually requested my very dear friend Gina. She actually took her time out, and very gracious of you, Gina, to come here and do all what you have to do. And thank you, friends, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, Story, for being such a support to my friend's book, What We Will Do With All the Money. And I think Jayesh will give us a lot of insights about what we will do with all the money. Thank you very much, and a very good evening to all.
Can I get Mrityunjay to also come up in the front, and let's do the book launch now. Yes. So thank you all for coming. These are all special, amazing friends. Thank you. All right, so let's do this. I guess we just... ভবানীপুরের ছেলে সেন্ট লরেন্স হাই স্কুলে পড়েছি, and I'm just amazed, from where I was. So I was taught by Munmun a word, an expression called Nimno Madhyabitta. So I'm actually from Chakraberia, Bhawanipur, and she said, you have to learn Bengali better than St. Lawrence taught you, my third language. But yeah, so I grew up in Chakraberia, fourth language, okay, St. Lawrence High School. Then after St. Lawrence, I went to MS University, Baroda. I did electrical engineering there. Then I joined IIM in Calcutta. And Mitu came to drop me to Joka. And I actually didn't have money to go to US. So I got admission in Austin, but I never could go. So I joined actually IIM Calcutta. So 6 months I was at IIM Calcutta, and then my brother sent me a ticket. And so I quit. And my father, of course, was in complete panic, and he says, how can you do this, right? I mean, you finish IIM Calcutta, you get a job and live happily ever after. But instead of that, I seeked adventure. And so I quit IIM after 2 trimesters and went to Austin. I graduated from University of Texas at Austin. And then I joined IBM in Houston, happily enjoying our life. And in the midst of all of this, I got married to Mona. And because we are on FB Live, I won't tell you more about it because she's probably watching. But otherwise, so beyond that, then once I was in IBM, I got a call that says, hey, we are starting IBM in India, because IBM was out of India for 10 years. So they said, we are starting IBM in India, so can you please come and help us? We are forming 4 teams. And I said, I've never worked in India. And he said, no, we forgot to tell you, it's in a place called Singapore. So I said, okay, give me a day and I'll tell you tomorrow. So Mona and I spread the map out and tried to look for Singapore back then. It was not as famous as it is now. And so I came from Houston to Singapore, and we were a team that started IBM in India. Now that is about 150,000 people from zero, and it's probably the highest headcount in the world, even more than USA. From there, then IBM finished their project in Singapore and said that we are now physically moving to India. And then at that point in time, we decided that we didn't want to move to India. And they said, go back to Houston. And we didn't do that either. So I quit IBM at that point after 12 and a half years. And we settled down in Singapore. So I became a forced entrepreneur at that point in time. But it was running in my blood, in my DNA, because we were the first, my brother and I were the first generation who ever worked for anyone. So my father, grandfather, nobody's ever worked for anyone. And as a Guju Bania, so that was perfectly fine. I was a forced entrepreneur. And then at that point in time, I met a bunch of people who said that we're going to start a TV channel. Can you please come and help us? And so I was doing another startup at that point in time called Frontier Technologies with Balwant Singh. And then I asked him, hey, is it okay if I go and help these guys? I know nothing about TV, but they said, hey, help us because your professionalism we're looking for. We're looking for conversations for joint ventures with people and things like that, technology. So lo and behold, that Ace TV, which is what we were going to start, got a incoming inbound inquiry from Sony Pictures Entertainment, which is Columbia TriStar. And so Columbia TriStar said that, hey, we didn't know about you guys, but would you like to partner with us? And then they shortlisted a whole bunch of people, including RPG Goenka group from here, and they shortlisted the Hinduja family, and they shortlisted us. But then we were one of the only people who were ready to take less than 50% equity. Most other ones all wanted 51% equity, thank God. So they, instead of taking them, they took us. And then they named the TV channel from Ace to Sony Entertainment Television. So that's the sort of genesis of it. A spectacular ride, learned so much. I mean, we did amazing new content like Indian Idol, and then we also got Kaun Banega Crorepati. We bought Sub TV. Then we taught them cricket, so they couldn't understand that what is this whole cricket thing, because they were all to the baseball thing. And then we got the World Cup cricket rights, and then fast forward, then we, of course, figured out this whole IPL league, which was a massive success. So that ride went on till March of 2013, at which point we completely sold ourselves out to Sony. And then I thought, okay, you live happily ever after. So March 2013, I started staying at home. And for 9 months, I did binge traveling a lot. Went to Gandhi Ashram and did some seva, so service. And then the third thing was Vipassana meditation. So I discovered that. And so I did all of that. But come 31st December, my wife called me and sat me down and said, okay, is it you or me? And I understood the question, and I said, me, meaning who's going to stay at home? One's got to go out. We can't live happily ever after sitting at home. So thank God that I did that. And then two of my very dear friends who didn't know each other, I put them together, and they started a venture capital fund. And they asked me to, again, be one of the partners. So Jungle Ventures is a Southeast Asia technology fund. And so that started out of Singapore. It's a Pan-Asian technology fund. And so I was a managing partner for Fund 1 and Fund 2. And then last year they started Fund 3, at which point I finally thought that it's time for me to kind of move on. And so now I'm a senior advisor, and I no longer have an office. I no longer have any operating role. I don't have any employees working for me. And so that's where I'm at. Along the way, I met Mrityunjay Tiwari and got completely enamored by what he was doing. So Akhand Jyoti Eye Hospital is an eye hospital that does 65,000 cataract operations at last count, probably has increased now. 80% of them are for free. And so it's a non-profit. And that was the first time that I really got sort of immersed into it. And then they asked me to join the advisory board. Mr. Ravi Kant is the chairman of the advisory board. He used to be the vice chairman and managing director of Tata Motors, and he's retired now. And so, we've really expanded a lot since then, and we're building a brand new hospital extension right next to where our current hospital is. And so Mrityunjay and I are busy with a co-partner of Sankara Eye Foundation out of US, who is partnering with us, and we are just starting to do some fundraising for it. So when Ashish said that I want to come here today in the evening, hoping that all these lovely ladies is going to buy a lot of custom jewelry from him, I said, you got competition, because Mrityunjay is also coming to fight for your dollars. So thank you, Mrityunjay, for all the amazing stuff you do. Absolutely fantastic, brilliant. So just now coming back to the book. So I was just sitting and again, having retired once again, I am not an author. I don't write. I don't know how to write. The most I've written is probably love letters to my wife the last time, and I hope that she's looking at this page, but I get a little brownie points out of that. But I have not really written anything, but I said, what am I going to do to give this subject, a perspective? Say, what shall we do with all this money? So I got that epiphany, I figured out that title, and then said, what do I have? Well, what I have is a network. I've got a fantastic network of people worldwide. So essentially, I decided that I was going to do an interview. And I'm going to do an interview with heroes and unsung heroes, right? So you got from different walks of life. So there are people who are entrepreneurs, businessmen. There are people who are social impact investors. There are impact investors, right? And then there are professors, there are lawyers, some gurus in there. But my most favorite section is the millennials. I mean, the millennials are the ones, and after the conversations that I had with some of these millennials, many of them from affluent families, Most of us think about millennials as people who are just going to, when they get the money, what are they going to do? They're going to inherit and they're going to while it away, right? I mean, people just think of them like that. But I was just completely bowled over. All these folks that I talked to are from different countries, as I mentioned to you. So there are people from US, UK, Bahrain, Dubai, Singapore, Malaysia, India, Africa, right? From all over the world. I've taken the Indian diaspora conversations. But the millennials are mostly the millennials and Gen X, Gen Z, they're looking for purpose. And that was really awe-inspiring. I was really taken aback at what there are young ladies and guys who are 25, 27 years old. And I hope you get a chance to read it. And so I'm amazingly inspired by that. I just want to make sure that I covered all of this. Oh, just some of the interviews, right? So usually I have a slide which shows some of those photographs. So there are people, and some of them Utsav mentioned. So Ratan Tata, Deepak Chopra. The one person that I have not met, and I did an interview who I have never met, thanks to a friend of mine that I got through to him, is Jasprit Bumrah. Amazing person, but I'm still yet to meet him. Rest of them are Professor Jagdish Sheth. He just got an award, Padma Bhushan, I think he got. And Sanjay Bigchandani, Naukri.com, he got Padma Shri also. So a couple of guys who got some awards. Shekhar Kapoor, the filmmaker, Mohandas Pai, most people know. Om Swami, Manubhai Chandaria, he mentioned. Rohini Nilekani. So Rohini Nilekani has an amazing problem, and just sort of give you one small excerpt. And she says, every year at the beginning of the year, we figure out how much money do we have. So Nandan and Rohini sit together and they figure out how much money they have. Then they say, okay, let's allocate X amount of money, which we are going to give away this year. And they work extremely hard, very diligent, process-oriented, and they give away that amount of money. Then on 31st December, again, they wake up and say, okay, let's now do the budgeting for the next year. He says, Jayesh, I don't know what to do. We have so much money. I've got a big problem. I said, what happened, Rohini? He says, well, the Infosys stock keeps increasing. So it's more than when we started. So I'm giving away all this money. But at the end of the year, I've got more money than when I started. So I got to give it away faster and faster. I said, Rohini, you've got a good problem. And so it was really inspiring for me because the inspiration for the book, right? That's one of the questions that I get a lot. He said, I have a one-liner which says, you work very hard to make money. Then you work hard to make money on money, and then you die. So can I inspire those people who are trying to make money on money? And part of the question is how much is enough? Part of those insecurities that you get, or bragging rights. They say, I've got more than the next guy. The next guy's got more. I got to work harder to go one up on them. And so that's how I started with this book. And I said, can I get people to take their the foot off the gas pedal? And so that's where the questions that I asked to these folks that I've interviewed are about, of course, their background. So you get a quick background of where they grew up and things like that. And then their perspectives on money as they were growing up, and perspective on how this changed them today. But the most important question I asked them is, what advice would you give to the millennials? And it's just amazing. So there is a chapter in there, and a section in there for everyone. So somebody says that, look, these big guys like Rohini Nilekani, Ratan Tata, Amit Chandra, Chandaria, these are big trusts. Well, it is important to some folks who want to really find a structured way of giving. For them, those are the important ones. Some folks want to see the millennials, what they're doing. And then for the other folks, there are individual stories. So there are stories of people like Naveen Bhatt, for example. So Naveen Bhatt and Moshe Bhatt, they're both professionals, make incredible amounts of money. And they've figured out saying, okay, we don't want to form a big empire. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get 2 kids through local help from Ahmedabad and bring them through studying. So they're about they start at teens. And so let's say from grade 6th, 7th, all the way to college, we'll fund them. Right? So they take 2 kids, then 2 kids from Bangalore, 2 kids from Delhi, etc. So he's got 8 kids right now. But understand this, that it's not just writing a check. All those kids in pairs get a chance to come to Singapore for 1 week and stay with them. And the couple goes for a week and goes and stays with them. So it's actually an incredible model. And many people, it has resonated with them. And say, can you please connect me to Naveen? We want to understand how to do that. Because that resonates with me versus writing a check. Let's say, nothing wrong with Rotary or people like that. Everybody must do something good, whatever works for you. But there are some people. So there are a bunch of those kind of stories. So when I say heroes and unsung heroes, there are a lot of unsung heroes in here whose stories are incredibly fascinating. So that's sort of the inspiration. And I see so many serious faces, so let's just pause here. What I want to do is to see if I can answer some questions rather than just me doing a monologue. So can I just ask you and see who's got the first question, and if nobody does, then Gina's going to ask me the first question. So Gina, you want to do that, or let's see? Okay, let's do this. You want the second? Okay, good.
You know, once I went through the book, and I also saw that the back cover has a quote by our Nobel laureate, Kailash Satyarthi. Money that instills strength of character will ultimately to the larger good of humanity. This book by Jayesh Parekh makes a great read. Now, which means he's read the book. And for a man who's given so much back to India and the world, you know, I was recently with the Waterman of India 2 days back at the Rotary Convention. I had a nice chat with him. And I never got a chance to chat up somebody like Kailash ji. But it's been in my profile and job to meet all these kind of gentlemen through the length and breadth of my growing up years till now. So I really am intrigued to know, when he read the book, of course this is what he's written, but it must have resonated much more than this. Let us hear about that
Okay.
interaction.
So, a couple of quick things. Last year, I also got a privilege to co-produce a movie called Jhalki, made by Brahmanand Singh. And Jhalki is the story of Kailash ji. And so, I met him at the premiere of Jhalki, and that was the last of it. And of course, this is a Nobel laureate who probably meets 1,000 people every week. And so, when I finished writing this book, my publisher said that, okay, where's the back cover? So I called Anil. Anil made a back cover. And he said, what do you want to do? I said, to put the names of all these people. So that my publisher looked at it and saying, okay, where's the quote? I said, what quote? He says, you got to have a quote at the back. I said, well, I can get Anil to write a quote. He said, no, I mean, Anil is a nice guy, but I don't think his quote is going to work. So that's when I started thinking. I said, who can I ask? Who's going to, what kind of a person is going to resonate with the word? So I thought of Kailash ji. I said, the wild thought. I don't think he's going to agree to do any of this, but let me just I sent him a note. But one of the things I did along with it, having learned a little bit of sailing, is that I included a photo of him and me at Jhalki so that he knows who the heck is this Jayesh Parekh, because he didn't know who Jayesh Parekh is. Within 24 hours, I got a note back and from his office saying, Kailash ji has agreed to write a quote for you. Mind-boggling. But he would like you to send the transcript. So now, a transcript means I have no clue how this whole thing is done, but of course my publisher then created one of these PDFs which can't be opened and hacked and all of that good stuff that they do, and then sent it to them, and they said, please hold. And then a week later, they came back and said two things. Here is the quote that we will give you, and this is exactly verbatim. You don't have the option to edit it, but you can say, no, sorry, I don't want to run it. And two, that his will be the only quote on the back page. You can't have any other quote. So first of all, thank God Anil didn't have to write the second quote because I didn't have any other quote. And then his was the only quote. Now I didn't have any more space because I wanted to put all the guys at the bottom, right? All my interview guys. So it all worked out amazingly well. But the fact that he saw that it's not about accumulation of wealth, but it's the utilization of wealth, like that he just caught it. And so that's how I got the quote.
The opening page of your book, why don't you read just the first paragraph?
Okay, so
Because
I think
it'll tell people a lot about what the book is.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that Parag and Falguni will actually relate to, they are very good family friends from my father's day. My parents have passed away, and so I used to come to Kolkata 4 or 5 times a year, but now I come only once during Durga Puja, but thank God this time I was going to Akhand Jyoti Eye Hospital, and Ritu says, how can you launch your book in Singapore and not in Kolkata? So thanks to her that we are launching this here. And I just said this in absolute earnest, that says to my parents, Suvarna and Arvind Parekh, who gave me the unfair advantage of middle class values, right? I think to me, that was not a facetious comment when I said Nimno Madhya Vitto, but that kind of really stayed with me. And then as I see people flourishing, and there are very few people, and here, I mean, you look at the people around here also, right? And this is the warmth, this is the city where I just didn't even know that I was going to do it, and I just sent out a few WhatsApp messages, and then people all know each other, which is also amazing, right? I mean, I didn't realize that Dilip knows Utsav, and of course Ambalika, thank you for coming as well. So I mean, I'm just in awe that that all this has happened. But you want me to actually read one paragraph? Okay, I'll do that. So the early thoughts. All right. Actually, what I want to do is to read you the third paragraph. First paragraph basically tells you how much money is there in the world, and second paragraph is how many millionaires are there and all of that. But the third paragraph is my favorite, which is wealth is a de facto measure of success all over the world, right? I mean, all of us agree with that. People treat wealthy folks like celebrities, and of course celebrities themselves, but other folks, wealthy folks like celebrities, and are in awe of them. And they look up to them and are likely to listen to their point of view more keenly. In most cases, they don't pause to consider if the money was earned or acquired. As long as you're affluent, you're good. Most youngsters have tall ambitions. They all want to become wealthy. And they are attracted by the lifestyles of the rich and famous. Each strata of society is hoping and working hard to climb the ladder of wealth. This is not limited to the middle class. High net worth individuals are striving to become very high net worth. And very high net worth want to become ultra high net worth. And even the mega rich billionaires want to climb up higher in the ranks of billionaires. I think this is what took my fancy, is that you work very hard to make money on money. And I just wonder, fortunately my dad retired when he was 50 and inspired me to retire at 50. I couldn't quite do it, but now I'm just so happy that I want to help Akhand Jyoti Eye Hospital, folks like that. So yeah, Gina, thank you for mentioning it, but all the proceeds and all the royalties that I get from this book, it's all a small contribution to Akhand Jyoti Eye Hospital. And can I get to...
Answer a second question. The question is very unusual. We have got about 50 in all over there, the interviews of 50 people. Some, as I mentioned, are unknown. Some, although they are unknown, but they are somebody extremely big in the global world. But tell me, you have taken the interviews of all the 50, or have you taken some more, but some of them have also said something which is not giving back to society? Have you had that kind of an encounter with anyone that, no, I would like to retain all the money for myself and or for my family or for my children?
Right. So one answer, which is like a bragging answer, and then I'll give you the other answer. So one answer is, of course, I've interviewed all 53 of them personally myself, right? They're all audio interviews. They're all recorded, right? So with the exception of Jasprit Bumrah, that was an electronic, but except him, whom I have never met, the rest of them are all audio interviews. That's one. Two, as I was curating these folks, these are folks whom I firsthand know, and these are my friends. And so all it says is that it's amazing how clusters of soul, go through life, and you meet some amazing good people. And so these are all those amazing great people. And almost no one ever blinks an eye. Everybody wants to do good. Everybody wants to give back. Now, do you give back millions of dollars? Or do you give back tens of thousands of rupees? Or you just do one cataract surgery? So I've got so many kids now inspired by Mrutyunjay who had come to Singapore, who for their birthdays and anniversaries want to donate one. It's $50 US and 70 Singapore dollars, if I remember right, 3,500 rupees. And they will give that for one surgery. So, uncle, I want to give this for, my birthday. So again, there's two questions, right? People also say, oh, I don't have all this money. Well, whatever you have is all this money. It doesn't mean that all this money is defined as a billionaire. All this money is that. And then how much is enough, right? Everybody says, ঠিক আছে তোর কাছে টাকা আছে বলে তুই এত বড় বড় কথা বলছিস normally. But the point is here, it's not that, right? It's how much is enough is an insecurity or it's a bragging right. Usually it's distracted away like that. Once you overcome that, you just enjoy giving back. Nipun Mehta, one of the chapters, if you get a chance, you read it. He talks about regenerative. The inspiration that you get from it regenerates. As the more you give, it regenerates, right? The spirit. And so I've been really fortunate. So these are all, good friends from all over, and they all are doing good in their own way, right? So don't be shy. We can take maybe one more question, maybe two. We're almost at time out, but. Vinod?
First of all, congratulations, Jez bhai. I've seen your title of the book. There is a question mark there. So can you just answer that question mark so that some of us can be motivated to do something good for the society?
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll answer it two ways.
Yeah.
First is I'm not going to give up the end. ये तो एक तो किताब है तो उसका एंड मैं दे दूंगा तो कोई खरीदेगा नहीं मेरा और इतना बहुतों ने खरीदी है बाकी जिसने नहीं खरीदी है नहीं खरीदेंगे ये नंबर वन. Number two, there is no issue. It's inspiring perspectives on wealth. So essentially these are different models. from different parts of the world. And so this is Indian diaspora, right, of different parts of the world, people giving in different ways. And so if this big ticket giving, like the Tata Trust or Rohini Nilekani, and those kinds of big models don't work for you, if they work for you, fantastic. Set up a process, set up a charitable trust foundation, follow process, very hard due diligence, and then you figure out the vertical sector, whether you want to do health, edutech, health tech, agrotech, women empowerment, you decide, right? And then as a family, you get together and you allocate funds towards it. That's one. But individually, right? Just because you haven't gotten started, sitting on the sideline saying, "हाँ कुछ करना तो है, कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है." That's one. The second one that you hear again and again is the suspicion, right? That is NGOs are all, there's a lot of money that is leaking. And so that's the little time that you need to spend. So if you take time yourself to discover it, or you find someone else. So if Shoma has done some due diligence and tells me that Akhand Jyoti is fantastic, then I have to trust it at least 80-90%. Then the other 5-10% I have to overcome that. So that's, I think, so almost you kind of are not left with any reason to not participate in this wave, because we're incredibly charmed, we're incredibly lucky where we are, the education we got, the opportunities we got, and however much we have. And by the way, there is also, it's not just related to money, right? So this is also giving back, is not only in the form of wealth, but it's also your time, right? Your mind, your strategy. You can do a lot of things. And so I think, I'm reasonably sure all of you are doing things, but and if do more, let's do more, right?
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
My question was, you just right now you said that these are all individuals giving out their money. The government has already told us how the companies would be spending their extra money. Do you think that once they read your book, they are going to take the individual's money also?
No, so okay, so this is extremely important what you're saying. There is one chapter in this book which has not been cut down. Almost everybody's interviews have been edited down to 4 to 5 pages. So there's casual reading, plus you can't have a 600-page book. Nobody will read that. But there is only one chapter that has got 12 to 13 pages, and that person is Navneet Chugh. He's a very famous lawyer in California. And he has cracked down why America is the most generous country. Most generous country, individual giving, corporate giving is the highest in the world. Per capita giving is the highest in the world. Why? And he has cracked it down. So that is another incentive for you to buy the book and read it. But more importantly, he's actually telling us the tax system in USA, right? So there are tax benefits that you get when you donate money individually and as a charitable trust or a family foundation, but also an estate tax. So they have a death tax. So when people die, 40% of their net assets are taken away by the government, right? But there is a way for you to reduce that if you give more. So the whole US system is made in such a way, and plus it's a very generous society. So don't get me wrong, it's not just because of the tax, but it's a very generous society. And over time, if you look at all old models like Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie and all of that, it's inspirational. And so he's really made some amazing comments. So I'd say that if the government is starting by figuring out some other models and saying, okay, let's do this CSR 2%, a lot of us are saying foo-fooing and all that, but my take is no, let's give it a chance. It's not like you can escape it, first of all. And the second is that new things will happen, it will iterate itself. It's not like day one when America announced the 501c3, which is what it's called, the Section 80 equivalent. Yeah, and so individually also if you give, you get a Section 80, and then what other sections are there? He keeps explaining it to me and I forget. 80G, okay, good. So I think 80G, ठीक है. So anyway, so there is, one second.
You've been a constant source of inspiration for a lot of other people. So who has inspired you most to write this book? And if you know that, why? And the other thing is, has there been any trigger point where you felt that no, this is the time you must write the book, and this is, this is about time that you do this? So I don't know. I mean, maybe there's some source of inspiration for you also to get a trigger point.
So the first inspiration was what Parag said, that my dad wrote a book called Hello America. So it's somewhere in the genes of the family, and I said, well, I'm not an author, I'm not a writer, but I got to do something, right? So that was the sort of the first inspiration, is just thinking about that. But the other inspiration was my society around me. when I see people around me, whether I go to Bombay and, most of my friends know the folks I hang around with, or in Singapore, right? When I see all these folks, they are just amazingly affluent, and they're doing good. But I think, what's the next step? Has many people have not figured out the models, like I mentioned to you. And so I think it was really my neighbors that inspired me, because of that part, saying they're working hard to make money on money. And in many cases, they all sort of envy me, saying, "Arey, boss, Jayesh, तूने तो बहुत पैसा बना लिया, so now you can live this life." And I said, it's not, it's a mindset, it's a contentment. Even Mukesh Bhai is not, are we getting recorded? Okay, but anyway. So I think Mukesh Bhai still hasn't got enough, right? So it all depends on you, and there are people who think that they have enough. So I think that my neighbors and my friends really are my inspirations. And if it just changes one life, 5 lives, 10 lives, that's really
Actually, you
the-
have. So that's why I asked that. Who has actually changed your mindset?
So I think it's a combination of things. The people, the non-profit folks, social impact folks. So there are people in this book like Vineet Rai, who's done a social impact fund. So he's an inspiration for me. There is a chapter there on Mrityunjay Tiwari. So he's an inspiration for me. So he said these type of folks, when you see that they're giving their complete life. He's from a good background. He used to be a Mohan Bagan soccer player, football player. And then after he retired, he said, "Main kya karoon?" So he went back and he says, "Okay, I'm going to give my life." Now he's from a business family. So he's got businesses that are running in Calcutta, and he's not abandoned, but he's sort of, I shouldn't say abandoned on life, but I'd say at least that he's put that on the side. It's running on autopilot, but he is full-time dedicated on this. And it's people like that. And so can we bring these stories out? I think that was part of the inspiration as well.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So proud.
Okay, anybody? Nothing? Okay. Oh, Shubhrato.
You have written about people who have either money or energy or, as you said, maybe brain to give it to the society, or maybe what will they do with their money. I would like to know 2 things. Number one, there was a kind of a fleeting question. Was there anyone who refused to give an interview? Because I know someone who refused to give an interview. That's a personal friend. I'm not going into that. But what will you do with all?
Yes. So again, Shubhrato, I will not undermine taking away my book, because in my concluding thoughts, I actually break out what I do with my money. And if I again give it away here, then you guys may not write my book. But again, it's very simple. There are 3 pieces. I have a bucket of allocation of money that I give every year, and that's broken into 3 segments. One is calamity giving. So if there is an earthquake or a tsunami or something like that, then I have one allocation, which is just giving, and it just goes one way. Second one is lending. It's something called micro lending. So in micro lending, then you give money, and I give it in bulk rather than giving individually small amounts. I give it bulk to an organization called Milap, which is similar to Kiva. So I give a bulk of money to Milap, and then they cycle it, rotate it, and then interest comes back to me, principal comes back to me. I give the principal back. But again, the point of this is that it circulates. It's doing good, but it's constantly circulating. I don't ever take the money back, but it's circulating, unlike the first one. And then the third one I do is something called impact investing. So social impact investing. So I invest in a lot of startups that are doing good, but for money, to make money. And so in that, while I invest in it, and if it doesn't do well, it dies. But my sense is that it's dying doing good. I'm okay with it. But if it does good, and it comes back to me, 3x, 4x, right? So we've got the president of TIE here, Viresh, he'll tell you, sometimes you can get 3x, 4x, sometimes it dies, but sometimes you can even have a 10x, right? And so when I get some of that money back, then I'll plow it back. So again, that's rotating. So the social impact one grows in size over time, and then I rotate that. So there were 2 questions. So this is the second one I answered? Yeah. So the first one, yeah. So were there people who, okay, so it's a couple of difficulties. So Deepak Chopra, for example, said, "I'll give you an interview." I know him. And he said, "I'll give you an interview, but you must come to New York." I said, "For a half an hour interview, you want me to come to New York?" So I pulled some strings, because there is another lady who runs UBS Philanthropy, through whom I had originally met him. And then I know her cousin, she's also there, a couple of people, so I pushed them so that he would give me an audio interview. So there were some not so easy, right? And there were some, yes, who, told me that, they're not comfortable. They're not comfortable coming out and telling us the story. And that's when I actually got the trigger point. The pivot in the book happened when there one person, 2 people, said that, "No, I'm not comfortable giving you my story." Part of it is because they thought that I'm going to ask them a lot of questions about funding, financing, money. So there are actors, celebrities, right? So who you know that, I'm part of the media industry, my daughter is part of the media industry. There are people that Freya know, I know, Vishal knows. And we tried to talk to them, but they were all not so comfortable. Saying, "Nee, I don't know how to invest, I don't know what to do with money. I have people who are going, you talk to my accountant, right? So you see that in this book, there is not a single celebrity from movie industry, who's in this book. And that's sort of one of the difficulties. But yeah, there's one other person in this group who's also said no to me. But yeah, if he's comfortable, I can tell you his name. Okay. You're not that person, so just making sure, yeah. But I know the name. You know the name, okay. Okay, I think, was this good? Yes. All right, thank you so much all. Amazing. And I got one more thing to do now before we go.